Okay, so I bought an oak table on Craigslist, and this is going to be the first time that I've ever attempted to refinish something. I bought the table for $250. Watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to refinish, looked up on Google. The thing that I haven't found are videos that have new people doing it for the first time. You learn a lot from people that are seasoned, have done it a lot. Thought it'd be a good idea to learn with me, see the mistakes that I make, and show you what I'm attempting to do. So first off, this is the table. It's an oak table, possibly Amish made. Came with 2 benches. Little rough, little wear and tear on the table. It was used for about 15 years as a family dining table and just needs a new finishing. I'm also not a big fan of that orange oak look. Here's everything I bought for the project. Our stains, we've got a pre-stain, we've got the dark walnut stain, and then a clear satin polyurethane. I bought an orbital sander, 5-inch orbital, a mouse sander, then we have some 120 and 220 grit sanding paper, and then 120 and 220 sandpaper for sanding by hand. And then also some 320 grit block, just little kind of like sponge blocks to sand after I put a finish on. You're supposed to sand over that lightly. Also have tack cloth to wipe off my dust, some rags, mineral spirits to clean my brushes, plastic so I don't get stain all over the ground, and gloves so I don't get stain all over my hands. So the first thing I'm going to do is start with the benches. I care a little bit more about the table. Benches are an awesome bonus, but I figure this is the right place to start for practicing. And what I'm going to do is hand sand. I've started that already. Is hand sand these curves right here on the edges, and then I will try using my orbital sander on the surface here of the bench. And down here along the base, I'll use a mix of my mouse sander and a little bit of hand sanding for these curves. So as I'm sanding this, I'm trying not to focus on just this little area like this. You want to mix in some long strokes to keep that nice and smooth going across that straight edge. Not get any like divots or anything like that. At least that's my understanding. Okay, so now we're going to try the orbital sander on this flat surface. I have the sandpaper 120 grit on, and I'm going to try and take this finish off. The wood is starting to look pretty good. Still got a lot of work to do. You can see some of the stains still in there, but it's a lot different than that. One thing I'm noticing is it takes a long time, even with an orbital sander. So I could probably use a lower grit than I'm using. That might be one thing, but I'm just real cautious about digging into the wood. So there's that. Oh yeah, and a side note, I should be wearing a mask. I'm outside, so I've got great ventilation, but I should be wearing a mask. So now I've got it on. Alright, so I think this is looking pretty good. I ended up taking my mouse sander out and getting a little brave and doing this side instead of by hand. It was quicker, and I think it did a good job. I felt like I was in control and wasn't putting any gouges or anything in the wood, any dips. So I think overall it's pretty good, smooth. I'm gonna do the rest of the bench, the bottom, flip it over, and keep going. All right, so I'm back at the store now because after 2 hours of sanding that bench, I realized I need a lower grit of sandpaper because it's taking forever at 120. So there was more finish on it than maybe I anticipated, or maybe I should have just been doing this in the first place, but yeah, here I am. Save big money and Menards. Added a sanding block, some 80 grit sandpaper. Paper was ripping by hand, so I'm going to put it in the sanding block, and that'll help me get those corners, and then also the discs for the orbital sander. 80 grit. Save big money, Menards. And a new Menards hat. Save big money, Menards. Menards. Alright, so the bench is sanded, and I used the 80 grit to get that polyurethane off and that stain, and then I switched to a 120 again, and finally made it buttery smooth. So next, what I'm gonna do is get all the dust off with my tack cloth, and then put the pre-stain on once that's clean. I'm gonna put all that on my plastic so I don't make a mess in my driveway. And then after a couple hours, we'll put the first coat of stain on. So, till then, I'm tired. Pre-stain is on. Alright, it's time to put the finish on. Going with a dark walnut stain. And I'm going to do this just inside my garage because it'll probably have to dry overnight and I want it to be inside. The pre-stain looks pretty good, not bad. Good start for the first time. I'm thinking the rest will be a little more smooth, so good first day. And we're just gonna brush this on. Wow, that is dark walnut indeed. Put it on liberally. Alright, so I've added the stain, and now I'm wiping off the excess, and that looks really nice. I like it. So that's it for today. I wiped the table down. I really like the color. It's got that caramel look that I like rather than the red or the bright yellow of oak. Only got one bench done. That was a lot of work for one bench, but I feel like I know what I'm doing a little better now, so things should go smoother. Got to let this set for 24 hours and then I'll put another coat on, but it's looking good so far, and I feel like I've got a little bit of practice to help me out make the table look good. So, hey, maybe you can try it someday. Save big money at Menards. Click the like button, whatever.